Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and I am joined by my friend and YouTuber here,
Uh, Jolty.
and welcome back to another HTUC video. Wendolen is one of the many Vari evolutions in Lumen Legacy's game, so without further ado, this is how to use and counter Wendolen, from counters and checks to the sets, as well as the teammates and the roles that Wendolen can play, and the weaknesses and resistances. So this is how to use and counter Wendolen.
What role does Wendolen play? Base stats: 50 HP and 55 melee defense, 80 energy, 93 range attack, 75 range defense, 119 melee attack, and 103 speed. Wendolen is a strong, decently fast cleaner, great revenge killer, and frail, hard switch in. Wendolen's typing is Spirit. 3 weaknesses: Light, Ancient, and Spirit. Its resistances are Electric, Toxic, Dark, and Typeless, and its immunity is Brawler.
So, I'm going to be talking about the moves first before the ability and personality. You can run moves like Mega Chomp, Adaptive Assault, Body Slam, Dazzling Barrage, and Shadow Sprint. There are a bunch of moves you can run. I would prefer Body Slam, Adaptive Assault, Mega Chomp, and Dazzling Barrage. But of course you can rearrange those moves for stuff like Shadow Sprint and stuff like that. And like I said, the general Wendolen set, the aka the cleaning set, is basically the set that you want to run. The ability of choice will be Sharp Claws because it boosts your damaging moves pretty well, and of course it's our most consistent ability. And the personality being very brawny or the nimble, and the clumsy and foolish personality, and of course the brawny, nimble, very clumsy personality is still pretty good. And the item of choice, the clutch plushie, choice of pearl and shell. I meant to put essence there, but whatever. And the power cuffs. These items are all pretty good on Wendolen, so you can't really go wrong with these stuff. And the TPs, it's basically Jamie's set, and I don't really need to say it because it's the only good one in my opinion. Of course you can go for range attacking sets, but personally I would not really run range attack on Wendolen because you need heavy investment. 200 melee attack, 200 speed, of course, to max him out, 84 energy to get up to 250, that's pretty obvious, and 16 HP is the leftovers. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the Wendolen counters and checks, as well as its teammates, so let's get along with that. Offensive counters and checks to Wendolen are simple. You just want to run stuff that can either outspeed it and hit it super effectively, or it can hit it pretty hard and then also being able to switch in. You want to run stuff like Eclipse, Zulong, Phagenot, and Vesperatu. All of these guys are all pretty good aside from Vesperatu, because I'm pretty sure it is slower than Wendolen, and of course it gets hit super effectively by Dazzling Barrage. Eclipse and Phagenot are probably the best ones out of these four. You can obviously run some other stuff like Protagon, Valkyrie, Nemore, stuff like that. Phagenot's particularly great because it does have high melee defense, and Eclipse is also pretty good because Body Slam is the only thing that Wendolen has to hit Eclipse. And Zulong is also pretty good because you do outspeed it, so that makes it great for revenge killing, so yeah. And the defensive counters and checks to Wendolen are also pretty simple as well. You want to run stuff that can switch in and hit it super perfectly. Stuff like Oxydrake, Tongilin, Obsidian, Stratosaur, Barblast, and Harvestect are some good stuff. While you do hit Obsidian, Harvestect, and Oxydrake all super effectively, Obsidian is bulky enough to take hits from Dazzling Barrage but not consistently. So yeah, I wouldn't really run these ancient types as well as this Harvestect, but the better ones is Stratosaur, Tongilin, and Barblast. Well, Stratosaur isn't particularly melee defensive. Stratosaur can take at the very least 3 hits, so that's pretty good. And Tongilin and Barblast are of course very common melee walls that are good to use for Wendolen. And of course, the offensive teammates for Wendolen is also simple as well. You want to run stuff that can hit those walls super effectively so Wendolen can sweep. Particularly light types and electric types and air types are some good stuff to switch in on, or rather use to defeat the walls. Zulong is pretty good. It can pretty much dumpster on all of the walls I said earlier. It just needs some chip. Joltooth is a similar story, but Joltooth is slower than Zulong, and that means it gets outsped by Stratosaur, but that's basically it. Eclipse is good for that light type immunity, and Phage Knot is also pretty good because it can deal with Barblast, it can deal with Obsidian and Harvestect. It can just pivot out into something like these wall breakers, which is pretty good. And Valkyrie and Zeppelin are of course good stuff that you can use to switch in on those walls and hit them super effectively. And the defensive teammates, since Wendolen can excel in hyper offense style teams, and of course some variants of bulky stuff as well, you can run barb setters like Gobademic, Seer Knight, and Wobelisk, to name a few. And of course you can run other stuff like Lumello, I just wouldn't really recommend that. And then you can run the best offensive pivot in the game, Phage Knot. And of course you can run Tyrex and Barblast as well, because they're pretty good in hyper offense, and Seer Knight as well. I'm not really a specialist on hyper offense, so I can't really recommend the best defensive stuff, but that's just my picks. So with that out of the way, let's get along with the conclusion and my closing thoughts. So let's get along with that. Overall, I think Wendolen is probably not really the best Vari. Of course, it does have some good stuff going for it, but there are better Vari evolutions. Stuff like Tongilin and Venolin are of course probably the better ones, and Pyrolin is also pretty good as well, and I'd even argue that Kirillin is either on the same level or a little bit above Wendolen. That doesn't really make Wendolen a bad Lumion though, because while it does have competition for the sweeping and cleaning slot against stuff like Hunder, Zulong, it does have some good stuff going for it. So like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're into these kind of videos. Make sure you go sub to Jolty because he is a very cool person and you probably find his content entertaining. And yeah, and also remember that Zulong is still a dumpster fire.